Welcome to the Sweet Spot Podcast, where we're all about helping players, coaches, and parents get the most out of the game. Whether you're stepping up to the plate, coaching from the dugout, or cheering from the stands, we got you covered with expert tips, strategies, and insights to make youth sports a better experience for everyone. Each episode, we'll share our own experiences and bring on special guests who will offer valuable advice on skill development, teamwork, and creating a positive environment for growth both on and off the field. So let's dive in and make the game even sweeter.
Play ball.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Sweet Spot Podcast. Albert, Dalen, and our awesome guest today, Jeffrey Eaton. Thank you for being here, man.
Appreciate you for having me, man.
I hope you have a good time here with us today, and same with the audience. So why don't you tell them a little bit about you and what you do and where you're coming from, and get a little bit of your background.
Yeah, man. So I grew up in a town called Reading, Pennsylvania. Born and raised there. Moved out of the city when I was at a young age. I think I was like 5 or 6 when I moved out. Moved in with my aunt, and then she raised myself and my 2 older brothers. And we grew up in the suburbs, just a regular, normal life. It was different from the city. But went to school at Central Catholic High School, graduated from there, and then went to junior college for 2 years at Lackawanna Junior College in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and then transferred to Lock Haven University, which we talked, off air, dead smack right in the middle of PA, man. Farms and horses and cows and not a lot of people there, but yeah, graduated from Lock Haven in 2009 and literally moved all across the country, man. Been everywhere from California, Texas to Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland, Missouri, and now, all the way to Miami, Florida. So.
Slightly different than Scranton.
Yeah. Much better weather, a lot better people, and, we're just happy, man. We're blessed, man. I've got, a wife and 2 beautiful kids.
Nice.
We're just extremely, extremely blessed, man. Like, to be in this position where I'm at, obviously being at the University of Miami and doing what we're doing for the football team, like, I couldn't ask for more, man.
So what do you do with the football guys and at UM, and more or less, like, what's the program, and talk about it?
It's more of what I don't do, man. I pretty much pride myself on, kind of being a jack of all trades. My official role is the assistant strength and conditioning coordinator. So essentially my job is to assist Coach Feld as, he's the head strength and conditioning coordinator. So in any and all aspects of, physical and human performance, to all the way to sitting in meetings, to, having his back in the weight room and taking over when he has to go talk to Coach Cristobal or, deal with issues that are going on within the program. But my primary role is working with the offensive line and defensive line in the trenches. So
the big boys.
Yeah. My role kind of shifted this season. It's been great. It's been an awesome transition. I'm more so working with the offensive line now. For a long time, I was always D-line because I'm a former D-lineman.
Okay.
So that has been completely eye-opening and a really, just a big game changer for me because it's so much different than defensive line. Oh, yeah. Like, for a long time, we always used to say the offensive line, like, they didn't really have to do a lot. Like, you just line up, be big, and push people off the line. It's so much more intricate than that. There's a lot of calls. There's a lot of checks. There's a lot of different, techniques that they use with their feet and their hands. And the game has obviously changed.
A lot faster.
Yeah, it's insanely faster. But that aspect of it, I love. And then also the mental aspect, of seeing these guys of how they have to adapt, playing against, the Reuben Baines of the world and, those type of guys. Like, how are you going to block that guy every down? So that part about it has been, incredible transition for me. And obviously working for Coach, Alex Mirabal, that's my guy. Like, I love that man to death, man.
It's a great experience.
Salt of the earth, so I get to learn from him and bounce off my ideas from just a different perspective of what I see from a defensive side is like, hey, coach, this would beat your guy, you know? And he's like, well, hey, this is how we counter that. So it's a lot of intricacies, but all in all, man, like I said, it's been an awesome transition.
That's interesting to see how the strength and conditioning side of it works hand in hand in such a close, fashion with.
Well, I think you're also Mario's bodyguard, right? Because that's what. First time I saw Jeff, I was scared to approach him. Man, this is the guy on the sidelines.
He's sitting down right now. By the way.
It totally different.
It was funny. It was funny. So, but then you get to meet Jeff, and he's a sweetheart of a guy, man, and gentle teddy bear. Yeah, absolutely.
I pride myself on that, man. I really do. Like, people always ask me a lot, where I get that from, and I try to envision myself as kind of like a caged dog, during the, game week, so to speak. And I just envision myself just like trying to get out of the cage, man. And then once game day hits, I let it all out.
Let loose.
I just totally believe in having passion for what you do, man. And I want my guys to feel like that really good energy. It has to be real. Can't be fake, because the guys will see right through it. But yeah, game day is like, bro, it's the ultimate, platform. You're on it, and like I said, I'm blessed, man. Absolutely. There's people that have come before me that have done this thing for so long, and why wouldn't I give back? In that way, it's like having the guys back, cheering them on, getting riled up, or getting in the guy's face, because we're in the trenches 24/7 with these guys. So, my job is to make sure that I motivate them in a way to where they eventually turn into the person that they know they could be. And it's not a month by month thing. It's a daily thing, so I just look forward to game day, and what you see on TV is really how I really am. Like, I'm really passionate about life. I'm really passionate about people. A lot of energy, like I was saying, when I got here, man, you could feel the vibe, like when you walk into a room, and I just want to be that type of person, man. Like, I don't want to dim the room. I always want to bring it light to it.
And listen, in all honesty, if I'm in the sideline and fans rush the field, I'm hiding behind this guy, because I know he's got my back. I
got your back, man. I got your back, bro.
So with the guys, how do you get them riled up, and how do you get them to focus and lock in and get the mental side that you want out of them? Like, how do you do that? Obviously, they're older than the ones that we coach, and it's a different sport. But at the end of the day, the mentality has to be somewhat congruent. So how do you do it at the college level?
It starts with knowing what you have to do. It starts with also knowing like what your assignments are and what the mission is and what the goal is. And if I can get them to understand that, it's not going to be the easiest thing to do, but it's achievable through your habits and your beliefs. If I can get them to believe that they can do something that they think they can't do, first and foremost, I've already won.
You won.
Right? Because that's where your habits are formed from your beliefs. Mm-hmm. So whatever you believe in, then comes your habits. Now it's more of, okay, what is your daily process during game week? Are you getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Are you, watching your film? Are you asking questions in the meeting rooms, right? Or are you just kind of just going through the motions, right? Are you studying your opponent? Are you studying yourself? What are you looking for, like, to beat your opponent, right? You have to know what your enemy's going to do, right, in order for you to counteract that, right? So especially in the trenches, you got to understand that, look, you're not always going to be getting the fame and getting the glory and, the things that the wide receivers or the quarterbacks are going to get, like, especially for the offensive line. Your back's against the wall. Your back is literally to the offense, right? So the only thing you can do is move forward, right? How do you do that? Having confidence in what you do, first and foremost. So identifying those things and then just keep hitting on them throughout the week. I like to check in with my guys, I would say daily, but usually like every other day, just kind of say, hey, how are you feeling about, such and such? Like, how's your day going? Or change it up and just try to pivot them away from the pressure of the game and just really just asking them like, hey man, what are you looking forward to, like, you know, after the game, or, you know, is your family going to be there? Are you excited about that? Like, touching on things that I know that mean a lot to them helps tremendously, because then it relieves the pressure of, you know, the outcome of the game, and, you know, just letting them kind of be themselves.
And you keep them on an even keel. If they get too...
Can't be too high, can't be too low. That's why even with me, it's so important to where, like, I kind of stay level-headed. You know, I can't go into practice going crazy, you know, for the whole practice. I got to have moments where I'm like, okay, all right, I got to tone it down a little bit, you know, so that way it's more clarity in what I'm saying, you know, or when I'm coaching them. But at the end of the day, it's all about, you know, echoing the message from the head coach all the way on down. Doesn't matter if it's the janitor in the building. There's one mission, right? For every specific game, there's one mission, right? Obviously, the mission is to win, but you, in the middle of that, that's the process.
Right.
That's where you're not focused on the outcome. You're focused on
that play.
Yeah, you know, 100%. It's really a challenging thing to do. You know, I've had setbacks with certain guys. I've, you know, pushed a little bit too much, you know, and they, you know, they kind of put up their wall. And, you know, you live and you learn. It's not going to be perfect every single day, but the best I can be for myself, the best version of myself, is going to help them, because I'm more clear, I'm more concise, you know, I'm more to the point. And they just really feel like, hey, this guy's dialed in, like he's got my back. That's what I want my athletes and the people around me to feel like. Yo, Coach Eaton's got your back. He might be crazy on the sideline. He might be going crazy, nuts and whatever and cheering, but at the same time, like, you better hope that you're on our sideline. Because if you're on the opposing sideline, it's going to be bad for you. So,
what part of your job and your requirements do you feel is more motivating, and how much of it is technique? Like, where do you draw the line there?
Man, that's a great question. I think it's a mix of both, right?
We're asking for a friend, by the way, because
it's a mix of both, right? Like, as far as the motivation goes, that's based upon what I see, right? Their actions. Are their actions, you know, putting them in the right position? Are they leading by example? Like, are they doing the things that I know are going to help them win? If they're being self-destructive, then I have to step in, right? And even if they are, you know, doing the things that are going to help them be successful, you know, win or lose, I'm still going to step in, and I'm going to, like, you know, plant a couple seeds here and there. Hey, this is what you need to watch out for. Or, hey, you might need to intervene with another one of your teammates. Like, he's going through something, like, you don't see it because you're so focused on the process, where you got to, like, take a step back and see it from a, you know, I call it like the 15,000 foot view, you know, like, step out of the frame a little bit and see how things are working. So that way you can say, okay, all right, yeah, he is taking the wrong step, or, hey, he needs to put his hand here, or, hey, like, you came in the weight room with no energy, right? Like, how can I intervene on that? And then on the technical side, technique is always going to be key. It's always going to be paramount, especially in the weight room, because our job is to keep players safe, you know, and keep them on the field. If I don't do that, I don't have a job. But at the same time, when it comes to the football aspect of it, I'm literally echoing everything that the coaches are saying, right? If a coach is saying, all right, step here, step there, right? You know, shoot to wrap, or, you know, whatever their verbiage is, you know, on defense or offense or whatever they're saying to the athlete, like, I have to echo that. That's alignment. That's what an organization should be. I don't look at myself as, you know, obviously a position coach, but I look at myself as an extension of the position coach, because my number one job is to make sure my unit, my group, is 100% confident physically, mentally, and, you know, spiritually, if that's the case. And all that comes hand in hand with, you know, especially technique, you know.
And in terms of, because I'm big on preparation, in terms of preparing, is there anything that you have picked up on during your time doing what you're doing that maybe you could teach the younger generation that hasn't gotten to college yet that will eventually get there to make that transition from high school to college easier for them in terms of, okay, I'm walking into this D1 school or JUCO or whatever it is, and I know that things are going to be required of me that weren't previously required. Is there anything that you can tell, any advice that you can give the guys in high school or even middle school to get themselves to start thinking about that process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, obviously preparation is everything, man. But it's also going to start with them listening a lot more than having the answers for, everything. You got to listen to your parents. You got to listen to your coaches, because at the end of the day, that's your support system. That's your safety net, right? If you're not listening to them in a sense where you're not going to bed early, or you're not getting enough sleep, or you're not,
eating enough.
Yeah. Like a lot of our athletes nowadays, they're malnourished and they don't sleep. Like on average, I would say the average college athlete is probably getting about 4 to 5 hours of sleep.
Yikes.
So yeah, it's probably through the roof, even more for middle school and, even at the younger ages.
Physiologically speaking, that is god awful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you got to start from there, right? But I would say to this to, middle school or high schooler, it's like, okay, if you have a goal, write it down. Like, don't just blurt it out. Write it down. Make it specific, make it measurable, make it attainable, right? All the SMART goals, right? And then start working on your process as you go through that, right? I'm a firm believer in, if your goal is not big enough, if it doesn't really scare you, it's probably not a big enough goal. So if you say, okay, I want to be a Division I athlete at the University of Miami, wherever it is, okay, understand that that's going to require an extreme amount of work, right? Without the work, it's not going to happen, right? So how do I get a guy to work hard, right? What do you believe in? What do you want to do, right? What motivates you? Is it, some people are motivated by money. Some people are motivated by their family. Maybe they want to change their situation with their family. Okay, great. If it's money, okay, guess what? You're still going to have to work for that. You're still going to have to put a lot of hours into that. And along the process, just understand that you're probably going to have a couple setbacks, because that's what success is.
Part of life.
It's literally step forward, step back, step back, step back, step back, step forward, right? But keep moving forward. Don't think that just one setback is the end of the world, or don't think that one bad conversation with your coach or your mom or your dad or your uncle or your best friend saying, hey man, you got to get your stuff together or this isn't going to work. Don't think that that's like the end of the world, or they hate you, or listen, the greatest form of love is discipline and accountability, right? The minute I stop disciplining my son and my daughter, I probably don't have a lot of love for them, right? These kids got to understand that you're literally trying to help them, right? And as the coach, sometimes you might have to take a step back and you might have to shut your mouth a couple of times and listen. And you'll find that you'll get the best answers and you'll figure out what the athlete is going through. Because I'll be honest, man, I feel for a lot of the athletes nowadays, the amount of distractions that these guys and girls go through,
it's insane.
It's disgusting. It's incredible the amount of resiliency that they actually do have and they possess. Because when they come into the weight room, I'm talking about college now, right? When our guys come into the weight room, they're carrying a lot of the burdens that they've had in high school, but the way they shoulder it on their backs, man, kudos to them. Kudos to their upbringing, and whether if it was good or bad, I give them a lot of ultimate respect. I tell them, I'm like, look, I know what it's like to not grow up with a father. My father was around, but he really wasn't around, right? I know what a single parent, home looks like, right? I've been that. I've lived it. I've been in a position to where, I've had the weight of the world on my shoulders, with my older brothers and living up to the standard of them. I know what that feels like. I know what that pressure is, right? Lean into it,
Right.
Lean into the adversity a little bit more, and you'll find that you'll just start stripping away all the bad things that you have, and you'll start molding yourself into a more resilient person. I'm a huge firm believer of that.
Right beyond that adversity wall, that's where you meet success.
Yeah.
One of the crazy things, not crazy, right? Just general, right? Our little ones play together. They play baseball, not even football.
Playmakers, shout out.
So we, it's we get to interact, and Jeff does a good job. He brings some of the guys over just to motivate the kids, kind of get them around, get some pictures. And a lot of times you look at these guys on TV and you're like, man, what type of person are they, right? Like, are they these hot shots that think that they play at Division I? So one time you brought them over and you start engaging with them, and they're the most respectful individuals ever, which is a testament to recruiting, obviously, but parenting and just the way that they are. All right, it was like, yes, sir, like. Incredible respect, right? So that comes also from you guys, right? Because you guys are an extension of that family, of that home, right?
Yeah.
And I felt that in college, and you felt that as well too. So just being that, especially guys that come from different cities or whatever, they have to make that change, knowing that they have somebody like you or guys that are those father figures that are extension of a home, with all that type of respect, is, I think, key for your success as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm an extension of their families 100%. I firmly believe in that. I also believe that, obviously it helps me a lot more because I have kids, and I constantly am questioning myself, am I being a good mentor to these guys, right? At the end of the day, can they sit there and say, okay, Coach Eaton has my back? Right? When I say I'm going to love you like I love my own son and my own daughter, that's not just lip service. Like I live it and I breathe it, right? I'll go to a kid's house, have lunch, have dinner, right? Go get coffee, whatever it is that helps them have an outlet, right? The whistle comes off a lot for me, especially because mental health is literally, that's my purpose. That's my passion. It's my calling. It's what it's why I've gotten into coaching. Because at a young age, for me, I had so many different mentors that kept pouring into me, and I never really understood like why they were doing it until I got a little bit older and I faced a lot more adversity, and just so many different situations where I could hear my high school strength coach in the back of my head, like, bro, like, go that way, go that way, go that way. Oh, okay, all right, you messed up. Here you go. Here's your consequence. Right? So yeah, absolutely. We are an extension of the coaches, but it's ultimately our responsibility as a man in society. Like, my number one goal for them is to show them what excellence looks like. And if I don't land on excellence, I'll land right underneath it. And I'm okay with that. Right? I'm not shooting for perfection, and they need to feel that. They need to understand what that looks like. How I walk, how I talk, how I interact with people. Doing things like this, right? Getting out of your comfort zone in a lot of areas is going to help you grow exponentially. I just truly believe in that. And once they see that, it doesn't take very long to, for them to buy into what you're saying, or even if it's reprimanding them and saying, hey man, like, get your shit together. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not hitting your goals. Here's why you're not doing that. Right? You're being destructive towards yourself, right? Maybe it starts with your thoughts. What thoughts are you letting into your brain? Are they a lot negative, or are they in the middle? Or are they positive? Where are you going? Like, how are you waking up? Do you look yourself in the eye and tell yourself you love yourself? Right? Like, how many times do we do that as men?
But those are things that are part of a habit that we tend to learn typically from our parents as we're growing up. Mm-hmm. And since all three of us are parents, since all three of us have boys and they're all in sports, and we have an audience that also includes parents, we were talking about it during the game.
We spoke about it the other day,
yeah. And it kind of comes down to, and we'll discuss it now, but it really does for me come down to, hey, as a dad, you want to be your kid's superhero,
Yeah.
you know, and all of those things go hand in hand. I have a 7 and a 4-year-old, and we have a nighttime routine, and part of it is, aside from praying, we have daily affirmations. And in the morning, you have certain things that you got to do. You got to make your bed. You got to give thanks to God for another beautiful day, and, you know, kindness, not just with everybody around you, but to yourself.
Yeah. I love that.
And you know, going to the gym, lifting and being healthy and all of these things, everything that you're doing now, I'm pretty sure that when your kids get a little bit older, they're going to say, oh, man, like, my dad has been putting in the work. He's been being a light for a lot of people.
That's how the conversation started the other day, right? I was talking about his Instagram. So for you following, you wanna hit up his Instagram, and this man's always working out, right? And I had the just the standard question of, hey man, I see you hitting it, right? Yeah. And you know, kind of wanted to pick your brain on why you did that, and you just simply told me, man, my kid sees me as a superhero, so I got to become a superhero. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So if you want to touch on that.
Yeah. That was an instance where my son Titus, I'll never forget it. We were I have a rack in my garage. I got a bunch of equipment, and the kid was just standing there watching me, and I could feel it on the side of my eye. And I'm like, man, like, what's he doing? Like, why is he just watching? Why is he staring? Like, why didn't he jump in? But then I soon realized, like, he's like watching you work out. Like, he's looking at every intricate detail of everything you're doing. Like me grunting, me singing to my music, right? Me like taking time to pray. I'm real big on my faith, right? Like, I'll pray in between sets, and he's just watching it all. And I'm just sitting there like, man, like, yo, my son thinks I'm like Superman. And I'm like, well, that's a big deal, bro. That's kind of heavy in a sense, to where it's like, all right, it might put a lot of pressure on you, but dude, like, how grateful is that? Like, that's gratitude right there in itself, man. Like, to be in that position for your son, to see you doing what you love, like getting it out. I get my strength through God and the iron, because number one, God has never failed me. He's never left me. I might have left him at times, when I was growing up, and even sometimes even now. And also, number two, the iron has never lied to me. It's always either promoted me, or it's also humbled me to the point where I get buried in the rack, or, I get stapled, or whatever you want to call it. Or, I get to the point where I'm like, man, I don't think I can do this, and for him to see that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on myself, but I'm just going to stay disciplined, and I'm going to stay extremely consistent with what I'm doing, what I put in my body, how I interact with, working out and fitness in general, and just the joy that it brings me, but also on the days where I don't want to do it. Because let's be honest, man, there's days
that you have to do.
Those are the days.
There's days where you're like, bro, like, I got to do this, but then I'm like, okay. I always envision my son standing there saying, oh, daddy, no, you told me not to quit. You told me not to run away from your problems. Or you told me, hey, be respectful. Like, respecting the iron is number one, like respecting that environment, and just the level of it. It means a lot to me. It means extremely a lot to me, because, like I said before, man, like I had a father. I don't want to portray my dad as the worst dad ever, but I think it's important for people to understand, like, yeah, like, he was not around as much as I would have, liked him to be around. So now the fact that I have the ability to be a dad 24/7, bro, you're not gonna take that away from me. Yeah. I'm gonna outwork you. I don't care who it is. No disrespect to nobody, but right, like, God gave me a gift to have, a daughter and a son and a wife and a house, and to be around great people, and just the ability and the opportunity to have that in itself is enough for me. So I can't take it for granted, and am I perfect? Absolutely not. Have there been days where I've slacked off? Absolutely. Right. I'm honest. I'm transparent. I'm not perfect. Right. But on those days when that happens, I think what I go back to is, all right, like, how am I going to get back on track to be, just a little bit more consistent? I got to be real with myself, and I got to be extremely hard on myself. Right. There's got to be a level of kind of like a little bit of disappointment in there of like, what would Titus or Eva think, or what would my guys think that I work with every single day that see it? Cause they think I'm perfect too. Like, don't get it twisted, man. My guys at UM that I work with, they think all the strength coaches are just meatheads and we just got it all figured out just because we're in a position that we are in. It's like, dude, no, dude, I'm almost a 40-year-old man still trying to figure it out. Every single day of my life, I'm trying to figure it out. And I take pride in that. I really do. But I also think, man, like everybody else in society, man, woman, whatever, like your kids look up to you. Like your kids are gonna
and they're constantly looking at us.
That's
everything.
That's who they want to be. You're the biggest role model they have, right? Like why wouldn't they want to grow up and be like you if you're a good figure, right? And I think a lot of people quit on themselves whenever they have kids, and I see that often, right? They try to live their life through their kids, but they forget about themselves. So then their kid sees them, like the way they interact with them. It's like, hey, why are you pushing me? And I'm seeing you, and you're slacking. You're
why are you telling me to go and condition and you're not, doing?
You're born looking like your mother and your father. You die looking like your choices and decisions.
Correct.
Like, deep. Amen to that.
Wholeheartedly. So like I said before, man, like when you're being hard on your kid, good. Give your kids a hard time, right? Coaches, give your kids a hard time, right? That's the best thing you can do for them. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be the first person that they go to. If not, it might be the coach. Okay, but what are you going to do when they respond in a good way or in a bad way? What is that going to look like? Because you're literally one conversation away from either promoting somebody or really setting them back. Like words have power. They have a lot of power, and if you give them good power, right, it could literally change a kid's life. Absolutely. That's super, super important, man. Like speak life into people, especially nowadays, like in society that we're in, it's like, instant gratification. You got to, have this. Okay. If I don't have the Jordans, then I got to have this. And it's like, okay, what about like the work ethic? What about like building really good habits, and doing things the right way and
building just community and
and giving back.
People and giving back.
That's super, super important. There's nothing wrong with wanting to achieve, at the highest level, or hey, if you want to get the nice clothes or the nice Benz or whatever it is, like
it's fine too.
Great. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. I think we're just in a world that's like, all right, hey, if you don't have this, you are less than. And that's extremely false.
And if you don't have it tomorrow, then
exactly
you're not good enough.
Yeah, like I tell my son, we're doing a thing right now where I got him a pair of sunglasses, a nice pair of baseball sunglasses, and he's not gonna get them until he can show me that he's consistent with what he's doing, how he is at home, his discipline at home. Cleaning up his room, like getting ready for baseball, like all these different things that he knows he can do on his own. But, he's like, oh, yeah, can you help me? No, I'm not. I can't help you. Matter of fact, I can't. Because you've shown me already that you can do it.
Yep, of course.
Literally on your own. So I think it's just kind of that, give and take relationship, but also more of just, giving a lot more. But it's super important. I constantly keep looking at that bottle. I'm like, all right, you talked about, pouring into, other people. Like, how can you pour into other people if you got holes in that bottle, in that cup? You're not going to be able to pour into anybody. First of all, they're not even going to like you because you're not the best version of yourself. Because if they know you for a long time, they're going to be like, nah, man, something's off. Something's off. And you got to have the self-awareness to recognize that, right? When you're pouring out too much, and you're getting to a point where you're feeling burnout, like you got to pause. It's okay. Like I'm pretty sure Superman had bad thoughts and was like, yo, I don't know if I could do this. And what did he do? He probably confided into somebody. Maybe it was his dad. I don't know who, but for me, it's my faith. But it's also, in strength and a lot of meditation and just a lot of quiet time in my car and, asking questions and trying to get them answered,
People should get our overflow of our cup.
Yeah, no doubt.
We shouldn't pour out of our cup because it's exactly what you said. And, hey, there's something off with this person. But I wanted to pivot.
Yeah.
NIL, talk to me. What do you think about NIL?
I love it and I hate it, man.
That's the instant gratification. I mean, it's not really a pivot, right? It's a continuation of what we're talking about.
No, we spoke a little bit about it. I love it. I love the fact that, guys are getting, money and funds and all the above. It's changing families. It's doing a lot for them. But the other side that I don't like about it is the financial literacy part where there's a lack of that, right? We need to teach our kids how to use money and how money can really be a vessel for us. Mm-hmm. Money is not a bad thing. The love of money, and that's the evil part of it.
Money's
right?
just a tool that we have to learn how to use.
100%. So if I can get a kid to understand how to use his money, how to set up, an LLC or, find a trust attorney or, even to get a living trust or a living will or, anything in real estate, like that's a win because we need it. I think that's the kind of downside of the lack of, regulation of it. It's like pay for play. It's not, okay, you're going to make money off of my name, image and likeness. It's like, all right, you're going to come here for this amount and here's what I'm going to give you. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there needs to be something on the forefront before they get to that school. There needs to be, somebody in there mediating and, doing contract mediation, whatever. Like if they don't understand it, what if the parents don't understand the language of what their kid's about to get into, and even on the high school level, like, come on, man, now you're giving 15, 16-year-old kids millions of dollars. Like, what do you think they're going to do with it?
And how does that impact their path in the sport before they even arrive to
It's a huge distraction. It becomes a huge distraction because it's all about the monetary value of what I can get. What can you give me right now? There's no real substance to it. It's not like, okay, what is this money going to do for me? Right? What's the, 3 to 4 year plan from year to year to year? How does this money grow or does it change? Does it stay the same? What do my taxes look like? How am I going to deal with all that? How can I make my money grow? Right? Like I'm so big on our guys like having an entrepreneurial spirit and setting up something for them because that's legacy to me, right? Having your own business, having your own assets, house, whatever that is, real estate, like that's huge. That's something that you could pass down to your kids. But what they see is, okay, I could go buy this $16,000, $17,000 chain. Okay, yeah, that might depreciate a little bit, but it looks cool, right? Like, famous athletes, famous rappers, whatever it is, they're doing it, right? So let me go ahead and show it. But that's, to me, that's short money. That's not long money, right? That's just like, okay, I look good. All right, but how do you feel when you buy that? After you buy it? Like, I don't know about y'all, but like if I bought a $17,000 chain, I'm gonna be really, really highly upset after looking at that bank account. Like, and first of all, I'm gonna get cussed out by my wife because she's probably gonna divorce me because she's like, you spent $17,000 on a chain, right? And that's just one instance, right? There's been instances where there's a couple guys, I'm not gonna name who they are, but man, they're spending like 25 grand, on a expensive bracelet or a nice pendant. And I'm like, dude, like, that's not going to make you any money. Mm-hmm. Like when you go to sell that back, they're not going to give you 25 racks for that. They're going to be like, okay, I'll get it for 10. Why don't you go, if you're going to buy something, buy a Rolex. Right.
Go something buy that appreciates.
Exactly. Go buy a Rolex. Go buy some art.
But they have to be guided
100%
to be able to have that type of mentality. And granted, we're either 40 or almost 40. It's different.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they could or they should have someone in their life giving them that guidance.
Where do you think it goes though? Like what's the path to this? Is it getting younger and then affecting the families? Families pushing for more of it, demanding more of it from from all these schools and athletes.
I think it will a little bit. There's kind of signs of that right now because a lot of families are asking for astronomical amounts of money. Instead of just asking what can the university provide my son or my daughter, what are the values, what are the core principles of what you guys do? How is my son or daughter going to be in year 3 or 4? Right, those questions are now like out the door. It's more so okay, where is my son on the food chain when it comes to how much money he's going to make? I think it's getting a little bit crazier, right? Like you're seeing just astronomical amounts of money being spent and being given, based upon like a kid's, I guess, like ceiling or his potential, rather than like saying, okay, hey, we're going to give you a base X amount of dollars. All right. Based upon your production. All right. Here's what you could be, right? If you show that your performance can get better, right? It's more so just, all right, here, take this lump sum just so we can outdo the next university. And quite honestly, man, I mean, that's scary. That's like, that's got to change. Like the NCAA and the powers that be have to regulate something because it's the Wild Wild West. Like I can't speak on what we do. We spend a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I will say that, if you want to plug in Miami, whatever, I will say that our guys are ahead of the curve in a sense where like we do financial literacy with our guys. We are having programs installed to where we bring in, the Morgan Stanleys of the world and they're laying things out for guys. We got, a tremendous amount of help from our alumni. Like John Vilma works out in our weight room every single day. He's spoken to the team countless amount of times. He is a serial entrepreneur. He owns a lot of businesses. He's a serial real estate guy too. So he owns a lot of, properties around Miami and even in other countries. So for him to have that, example for the guys and be able to like, articulate, hey man, this is what this contract's going to look like, but this is also the other side of it. Like, this is what you're going to pay in taxes, dude. Like you might want to put this away, or you might want to set something up to where you can get tax breaks. Don't wait until, you're done and you're getting ready to go to the league to start figuring stuff out. Like now's the time to figure it all out. So you could leave a millionaire, like we had one athlete at Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeau, prime example, was making a lot of money, was smart with his money, had an LLC, started a foundation, right? Has a trust. He walked, I don't know what he ended up, making in Oregon, but I know for a fact he's probably a multimillionaire by the time he's going to get drafted. That's huge.
Yeah, he's set.
Right.
He's set.
But also, like you said, he had the right people around him. He had people that were visionaries and had a mission and were on the same wavelength as him. And he also asked the right questions. He got around the right people and he humbled himself. He wasn't flaunting it around. He wasn't saying, hey, I got to be this. No, he had a mission. He wanted to achieve it. How can I achieve it with the platform that I'm on? So now fast forward, he's got like one of the biggest foundations in the NFL, and he's only been in the league a couple of years now.
That's awesome.
So, it's just really about the education piece, but also like you got to get real with these guys, man. You can't sugarcoat it. Like money can help you. And like you said, it's a tool. And if you utilize it in the right way, it can do a lot of really, really great things for you. So,
Jeff, now I'm going to do a little pivot, right? We've talked about it before, and I think it's something, with your expertise in it. I wanted to talk about youth and their development, their physical development. Parents are changing constantly. There's a lot more technology, whether it's in professional sports, and then it's trickled down, and everybody wants to start sooner and wants to do all these things. Where do you see that? What do you recommend to the audience and these parents that maybe are getting a little too ahead of themselves with their kids?
Yeah, it's a lot, man. First and foremost, they got to find a really good source of education, because you got to understand how the body works. You also got to understand what's good for your son and daughter might not be good for the next person, because everybody's different. It's not created equal, right? So I think starting there and getting around, like, you know, a good trainer that's certified, maybe has a degree, you know, in exercise science, and also has the experience. Experience is everything, because what it does for you is it lets you see that there is a parity of sport and there is a parity of physical, you know, and athletic development, right, from age to age. We see it a lot in our own sport in baseball with our kids, right? There's always that one kid that's out there that's like, yo, like, he's faster than this kid. Okay, his reaction time is way faster. He can jump higher. Like, why is that? I mean, it's something that is built in him. That's in his DNA, right? You look at his parents and you're like, okay, former MLB athlete, track athlete, right? So knowing that, okay, they have the skills and traits that, you know, are going to help your son or daughter be better, then you just got to work on those skills and abilities and traits and try to get it out of them. The way that you would do that, you know, especially for younger kids, start small, man. Just keep it simple. Kids need to be able to run, jump, sprint, land correctly, right? Carry things. They need to do pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups. That's about it. They don't really need, you know, you're running up hills with, you know, sleds on their back. Like, people don't realize, like, that's going to change their kinematics of how they run. Like, it's literally going to change their motor pattern. So, like, why would I set a kid back 5 to 6 years from now, straining his groin or tearing a muscle or, you know, even breaking bones? Like, you know, that's a big thing. So
straining the spinal cord.
Yeah, like, you know, all those different nuances of how you can get it done. I think you got to start small, right? Like, even for my own son and my daughter, it's push-ups, it's sit-ups, it's pull-ups, it's planks, it's core strength,
monkey bars.
Yeah, like my son, like, Daddy, I want to hang on the pull-up bar. Okay, like, let's see how long you can hang for, right? And then, you know, seeing what they are able to do and what they're not able to do. Sometimes in this instance, like, for my son, he's 6. So I'm still, you know, it's all body weight training, right? It's no spinal loading. He's not putting a bar on his back. He's not, you know, sometimes he'll carry heavy things, but it's not like 200 pounds. It's maybe, you know, a 20-pound dumbbell. Like, okay, go ahead, pick it up. See if you can hold it. You know, identifying those, like, kind of deficiencies. Like, he's not very flexible. Whereas, like, Eva is extremely flexible. She's also a gymnast. She also does cheer. So she's also doing those things every single day. So it's more so just identifying those areas of opportunity and highlighting them is what I do with my kids.
And at what age would you introduce your son to a little bit of weight training?
I'd probably say like 13, 14, right around that age where there's, you know, close to hitting puberty. You know, obviously, you know, girls usually hit puberty a little bit earlier than guys do. But ultimately what it comes down to is, are they able to possess the qualities that I need them to possess, right? Core strength, you know, can they squat? Can they bend? Can they do a push-up? Can they do pull-ups? Like, with full range of motion, you know, are they able?
Technique.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's why I said technique is king. And if you have a kid that is showing that they can do that, yeah, okay, add some external load. You know, it could be time under tension. You know, it could be eccentrics. It could be isometrics. And then, you know, if they can handle that, then start adding weighted implements, dumbbells, kettlebells, you know, sandbags. And then eventually, if they can handle that, right, move on to a barbell. Now you're going to put it, you know, axial loading, what we call it, right? Spinal loading. Are they able to do that under control with great technique and, you know, obviously great depth, you know, if they're squatting or if they're, you know, pressing or whatever it is, and then progressively overload, right? Add more resistance to it, make it a little bit harder, right? That's where you're going to see the adaptations. But just starting with, you know, a barbell and throwing it at them and say, okay, go ahead, squat this. Like,
Recipe for disaster.
yeah, your kid's going to get hurt and it's going to set them back. It could end their career. It could end, you can get hurt. It could either promote your career or it could end your career. That's what we tell our guys, and that's collegiate athletes. So, but I think for parents, they need to do their research, and they got to do your due diligence. Don't just go with somebody that, is like, hey, I known him. He was in the NFL, this, that, and the third. That's great. Cool. Like, it's great that you're in the NFL, but are you a certified professional? Have you been doing it for a long time, right? Do you have the experience in the background to work with kids?
With the kids.
Right? Like, those are some things that I would, highly, highly recommend. And if they don't, it's a huge red flag for me.
But it's encouraged. It's not to be a detriment to the parents. It's you should do it for your 100%.
Kids. Yeah, like
do it right.
Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. Your kids need athletic development, right? More than anything. Not just in the weight room, but in sport, right? Diversity, teamwork, work ethic, pushing through things. Like, our team experienced it the other day with like them having to come together. That's camaraderie, right? All those things are taught through sport, right? So why wouldn't you want to put your kid in that? Like, it baffles me that, parents are out there like, oh, I want my kid to play one sport. Like, okay, good luck with that. Because let's look at MLB. Like, you got the Pittsburgh Pirates jersey on, right? Like, I bet you 95% of those athletes on that team played multiple sports. I bet you they either played basketball, they either ran track, or they played football.
100%.
That's literally all of the athletes that I train. They're all multiple sport athletes. Now, okay, how do you balance that? Okay, different seasons have different things that come with it, right? Obviously, financially, it could be, they could take a hit, but at the end of the day, I just firmly believe that a kid needs to learn different qualities and traits in every different sport. Because I'll be honest, my son Titus was hesitant playing football. He would love to run around and wasn't like, okay with the contact part of it. And he's still playing flag, but he started playing baseball, and that literally changed because now he's learning to attack.
He's a
right
stud.
Yeah, and
he is.
My
He
son.
is. But
my
you can
son's
just
pretty
tell.
good, but
You could just tell.
Yeah.
he's got it right. But I don't think he would have been able to develop even in baseball had he not played football, and vice versa. Because he's playing against bigger kids. Like even his son's 10 times bigger than Titus, right? There's kids on our team that are like towering over him, and he's got to see that. Kids need to see that. Kids need to feel a little bit of, oh man, like
I'm not the big dog.
yeah, like I'm not the big dog anymore, right? Like the team we played the other day, the number 19. A kid looked like he was on something. I'm like, dude, he's like 6 years old. He's like that tall. I'm like, bro, what is going on? But like, the point is, man, there's so much parity and there's so much diversity in sport alone that, you're selling your kids short if you don't expose them to that. It's the best thing that you could possibly do as a parent.
And if I'm gonna put you in a scenario here, hypothetical scenario. You're building like the perfect, ideal athlete from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take your son, Titus, 6 years old. Which sports and how do you integrate training to build up to that athlete? Are you doing baseball, football? Like what sports, what physical activity are you doing?
I would say, they got to be able to run first and foremost. You got to have good
Technique.
Capacity. You got to have great technique with what you're doing, but you have to build work capacity. You do that over time by teaching them the fundamentals, right? It could be conditioning. It could be barbell complexes. It could be, body weight complexes. It could be squats, push-ups, sit-ups, all in a row. And then you give them a short amount of rest time, and then they're having to recover from that, right? Because football is a anaerobic alactic sport. It's a short burst sport. The average play is 5 to 6 seconds, but you got to be able to sustain that over and over and over again. So that means you have to have aerobic capacity. So you got to be able to run. You got to be able to do that. Baseball, on the other hand, is literally everything from what I've learned. And I love it because it's endurance, it's power, it's speed, it's agility, it's coordination, it's change of direction. So, okay, train those qualities, right? Sudden change of direction, right? Start and stop, right? Landing and jumping and landing, right? It's the same exact thing as football. You got to be able to jump, got to be able to land. You got to be able to change direction very, very suddenly. That comes over time. You're going to be able to build that repetition after repetition. So for me, what I've done is I've kind of intertwined pretty much everything together, just because Titus doesn't have like a break from either sport yet. It's not to where he's in high school and okay, this season he has baseball.
Right.
Yeah, because like football for us may be on like a Tuesday, and then the next day he's playing baseball, with these guys. And it's like, all right, if I just give him pretty much everything and I microdose it and I don't go too crazy with it and I see how he responds to it, then I know he's getting bigger, he's getting stronger, and he's getting faster, right? I also believe in supplementation 100%. I think a lot of us are undereducated when it comes to supplementation. I think, like I said before, a lot of kids are malnourished and they're undernourished. We found a lot of success in giving our kids the creatine gummies. I don't necessarily know the brand, but you guys can look it up. But I know
that's for your college guys.
For college guys and for kids, okay. Absolutely. Brain health, development, power development, helps you recover between workouts. Like I take creatine every single day of my life, and I'm gonna till I die.
100%. Right? Every morning.
Every morning. All you need is a scoop. That's it. But I've noticed even with Titus, like I think you remember, like you probably met him when he was like really, really short, skinny. We were like, man, this kid doesn't eat. Like, I'm like, okay, like he'll eat his protein, he'll have his carbohydrates. I'm like, all right, man. I talked to, a doctor that I really trust, and she's like, you might want to just throw in a little bit of creatine, see how he responds to it. I'm like, is that okay? And she's like, yeah, like it's not going to be detrimental, and as long as you don't give him a super amount of a dose or whatever. But I noticed that once we started giving it to him, he's more agile. He thinks better, right? He's gaining more weight, right? And he's not like having any setbacks from it. So I'm a firm believer in it, man. It helps him, and it probably could help somebody else as well.
Off camera, you got to tell me more about.
Yeah, for sure. I'll look at
because my kids, they've gotten better with eating.
Mine they just do so much, right? Like they learn so much that it's hard.
And I think like calories wise, like dude, they're exerting infinite amount of energy all day long, and then they eat like a tiny bite, and they're like, I'm full. And it's like,
what do they eat at school? That's the main thing, is like, what are they getting fed at school? Are they eating good protein? Are they eating good carbohydrates? Like, parents need to start thinking differently. Stop thinking your kid is just a regular kid. They're not regular. They are becoming the top 1%. Mm-hmm. So what does the top 1% do, right? That not necessarily doesn't mean I have to eat like the Saquon Barkley, right? But if I want to be Saquon Barkley,
you got to start somewhere.
Exactly. I got to start mirroring some of the habits, right? Nutrition is 95 to 98% of everything that our kids are doing, because they're athletes. They're not normal. The amount of stress and demand that we put on them is a lot, right? That's why we say, where's the healthy balance of, pushing too hard and too little. I think you got to find that sweet spot right in the middle, and base it off of the responses that you're getting from your child. Stop worrying about, what your son is doing and what your son is doing, and worry about what your kid is showing you, right? If your kid is showing you that they can handle what they're doing, okay, small little increments, right? If they're showing that it's too much, if they're tired all the time, if they're coming home and they're just not interested and
can't focus on their homework or.
That's huge, man. You gotta like I said, man, sometimes you gotta shut your mouth and ask questions and listen, right? I ask my son and my daughter pretty much daily, hey, how was your day? What was stressful? Is there anything that you're worried about? Right? How does your body feel? Like, because when we work out, you're gonna get sore, right? You're gonna have aches and pains. You know, are you stretching? Are you doing this? Like, what is working for you? You know, I found a lot with my daughter that, you know, she really benefits from like a warm up before she goes to practice. You know, because before it was like, well, Daddy, I'm afraid to, you know, stretch and all this. I don't want to do all that. I want to like burn myself out. And I'm like, no, we're going to do like a little activation. We're going to turn your core on. We're going to stretch out your glutes. We're going to stretch your hamstrings. We're going to stretch your lower back. You know, we might do a couple push-ups, couple rows, you know, body weight stuff. And dude, like her performance has gone through the roof. She's a base. She's holding up other girls, right? She's also a bigger girl, right? She's gonna be a bigger girl. So she has to understand, okay, this is your process. You know, I tell her all the time, this is your process for practice. This should be your process for game day. For game day for her or the cheer events. You know, I got brought home like a little Theragun and, you know, a little compression. And she's like, Daddy, I need the Theragun. Like, I'm gonna get my back and I'm gonna get my glutes. And I'm just like, okay, your kids are very resilient and your kids listen if you give them a chance, you know, and you're not always like just on them about everything. Give them some space. Stick to your principles of, you know, how you want to run your household, you know, and you'll find that they'll do what you ask them. You know, for me, I try to push past that. It's like, how can I get them to be free thinkers and critically think, yep, right, and problem solve? You know, if something comes up, it's like, all right, well, okay, what would my daddy say? All right, well, I've done this, I've done that. Okay, figure it out. And if you go down the wrong road, cool, great, that's a lesson. All right, learn from it, and then come back and don't do the same thing over and over again.
And it's okay to make mistakes, man.
It 100%
not gonna stop.
I want my kids to fail. Listen, I'm a huge proponent of failure.
That is key.
It's a part of it. If you're literally just out to get, you know, success and not let them fail and be what do they call it? Helicopter parents.
Helicopter parents. Yeah.
What's the value in that?
There's none. I think that's kind of the problems that I see, especially in athletics right now, when it comes to youth development, is like they're so worried about the outcomes and they're not focused on the process of like getting their kid there. And it's like, all right, man, like we lost the game the other day. We lost in the championship game. Titus comes over to me and he's like all distraught. And I'm like, buddy, I'm not mad at you. Like, you think I'm mad at you because you lost? I'm so proud of you, dude. And he was like,
oh, for real?
What? I'm like, yeah, dude, you played hard. Like, I love that. If my kid, listen, and I tell all the coaches this, yep, if my kid is not playing hard, please take him out. Please sit him on the bench or her on the bench and give them a consequence for not working hard. If they're going, you know, all out and giving great effort, like, keep them in the game, let them do what they need to do. And if they still lose, great. You still learn from when you lose. Mm-hmm. Like the next day, literally, Titus is in the garage. He's like, Daddy, I want to hit bucket of balls. He's motivated. He's sleeping with his glove now. Like, he was pissed that they lost. I'm like, good. You should be. Yeah. You should be extremely upset that y'all lost, because the way that you guys lost that game, it was literally on you guys.
And if your reaction when he came up to you after the game would have been different, instead of, hey, I'm proud of you, you guys did great, you did great, if it would have been one of disappointment and being upset with him, then maybe he's not sleeping with his glove. Maybe he's not asking for that bucket of balls to hit at home, because maybe he's thinking, man, if I fail, it means that my father's going to be upset.
Yeah.
And I don't want my father to be upset, so I'm going to avoid the failure.
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
No. Kids are really big on your body language too. I've noticed that a lot. My son and my daughter pick up on a lot of my body language, and, you know, I got to be aware of like my facial expressions and, you know, my tone. And
when I played, you would make, if you were to make an error, at least I did. I would look at the coach and then look at my dad.
Yeah.
And look around and be like, oh, what are people saying or what are people thinking? Like, you know, so you gotta.
Jeff, with that, I think it's been an amazing episode. A lot of great things. I knew it from the beginning. I knew it was going to be a great one. But with that, you know, I just want to talk a little bit about what you're trying to do with the community, how you're trying to engage with kids, help them with, you know, all your experience, how you could get back to them and what you're doing. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Of course, man. I think, you know, first and foremost, man, like, shout out to you guys. Like, what you guys are doing is incredible. I think we need more of it. We don't have enough of it. I think it's super important for us men to get together and, you know, have a platform like this to where we can share stories and, you know, empower each other to be better. Like, I'm taking daily affirmations home with me, bro. Like, that's huge. I love that. Like, I don't think I would never have not thought about that, but just the way that you put that as so like seamless and part of your family, like, that's huge. You know, prayer is everything for us. So I'm putting that into practice, man. But yeah, to speak on the community, the first year that we were here, we said we're going to immerse ourselves in this place. We are going to get used to the Miami culture. We're not going to shy away from it. We had culture shock in a sense to where it wasn't the diversity of people. It was like the weather. It was hot, bro. Hot here. Yeah. It's humid, bro. It's so hot. You know, obviously coming from Oregon, it was completely different, right? And obviously myself, you know, growing up on the East Coast, my wife is from the East Coast as well. So that was a big stepping stone for us. But we both said, okay, we're going to find our church community. We're going to find our roots in there, plant our roots there. And then we're going to figure out how we're going to get involved. You know, we want our kids to be, you know, in the sports. I want to be present, you know, with my kids in the community with yourself, you know, and all the other dads and everything like that. But then I thought about, you know, man, there was a point like the second year that I was here, I was like, I'm not doing enough. Like, I got to do more. I'm capable of more. I can give more. So we started hustle camps. Hustle camps became, you know, a thing where it was like traveling here, traveling there. And then we finally found our home base at Tropical Park, you know, where it's literally from ages, you know, I would say like 5 to 11 or 5 to 12. Probably take on a little bit older kids this go around. But really, it's our way of giving back through physical development, man. We're out there running around, we're jumping, we're sprinting, we're learning change of direction. We do, you know, games. We'll do, you know, mock football games. We'll throw out whatever we need for the kids. It's literally all about them. I tell parents all the time, like, give me a couple weeks, you know, maybe even a couple months with your kids, and I will guarantee you that they will be more resilient, right? They'll be a little bit tougher, and they'll move better and they'll feel better, right? Because that's what I want. I want kids to learn, you know, adversity. I want to challenge them. I think kids at a young age need to be challenged, but they also need to see, you know, a person of myself, you know, in the platform that I have, that, hey, like, I'm right there with you, man. You know, like, I want them to feel like, hey, when I go to one of his camps, like, he's going to be laughing, he's going to be cheering, he's going to be, you know, he's going to be hard on me, he's going to be blowing his whistle really loud, you know, but he's going to get me better. And I want them to trust me, you know, and I want the kids to feel that. So, yeah, like I said, we started that up. We'll have a couple coming up in May. On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. You can find us on Instagram, hustle_camps, or you can find them on my page, Eaton_strength, or Hustle and Cultivate LLC. There's all that information on there. The calendars will be on there. Yeah. How to sign up.
Yeah, we have the calendars up on the screen now for parents to check it out and reach out to you guys, and you know, hopefully they love it, man. I think it'll be great for anybody that wants to engage. All right, you've been a great guest. Thank you, man, for everything. And we're here. Hopefully we could do it again in the future. And those of you out there that, you know, that are seeking that extra little expertise and want a little bit more for your kids, this is the guy right here, Jeff.
I
right.
appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
man.
brother.
Good luck.
you.
Good luck this upcoming season. Draft is coming up this month. So hopefully
Cam Ward, number
Cam
one.
Ward.
Any takes?
Cam Ward got to go number one.
Hey, how about you guys? Here we go, Adam baby.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
Appreciate
All right.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Sweet Spot podcast. Please like, subscribe. We're on Spotify, on YouTube, anywhere that you can find us. Please go ahead and do so. We're on Instagram as well. Thank you guys for watching.